Most people have no idea what to do with this. So they kind of just throw it around like a dumbbell. However, kettlebell is one of the most versatile tools that you can have in the gym. And you only need to master 5 exercises to pretty much do anything with the kettlebell. And I'm going to show you all 5. The first one, the swing, the clean, the snatch, the squat, and the press. I'm going to walk you through each one step by step, how to do it, where you should feel it, some tips and tricks so that you know how to use this tool like a pro. All right, number 1, the kettlebell swing. This is probably the most common thing you'll see people doing with the kettlebell. And a lot of people, there's a couple different ways to do it. I'm going to teach you both ways, but this is one that, when done correctly, builds a lot of great posterior strength as well as explosive power, and it's a good cardio workout if you continually do it. Now, I like to start in a triangle, okay? And in that triangle from the kettlebell to my feet, I'm gonna reach down, grab the bell, and I almost just wanna drag it a little bit first. Notice on the kettlebell swing, I want my shins to be vertical. That's gonna allow me to push all of the force into the floor so the kettlebell rises. Okay, now grab it. First move, just to practice, roll the shoulders back and down, spine nice and long. You're just gonna hike it up to your butt and then park it. That's how you get it started. Now, after you get the hike down, to swing back, sweeping with the lats in, you're gonna stand up as fast as you can. So hike it to your butt and then squeeze everything, get tall as fast as you can. Hike, snap, 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 and park it. So that's the swing. A couple points of performance. Shins, you want them to stay vertical. Now, if they do end up coming forward and the swing becomes a little more squatty, we're gonna feel it more in our quads. So, like so. Also notice, if that happens, the path of the kettlebell is much more vertical. Whereas if I have here, much more of a arc path. Neither are both wrong, but typically you'll see a kettlebell swing more of this hinge pattern, accessing more of the posterior chain, which is what we want. Both can be used for different purposes. It depends on what you're looking for. Okay, a couple points of performance as you do this. Want to get mostly posterior chain involved. Shouldn't really feel our back. If that's happening, this is typically some of the common faults. As I start to swing, I let the bell fall below my knees, okay? I want to keep this guy tight. I like to think I stand all the way up tall, and then I'm going to attack my crotch with my hands. I'm getting my wrist deep into my inner thighs here to get a good rebound swing. The lower and more further away my forearms get from the hips, the more that back is going to have to do the work. That's the swing. Most of the rest of the thing happens from the swing. It just depends where you're going to catch that position. So next, we have the clean. Clean looks like this. So it's a variation of the swing, but now instead of letting it flat in front of us, we're keeping it nice and close to our body, we're racking, we're catching. You notice I put a little wristband on. Some people like to use it because, well, metal on flesh, metal usually wins. And in the beginning, you're gonna do a lot of banging. Over time, as your technique improves, it'll just land softly on there. But if you're doing a lot of reps, metal on flesh, metal usually wins. So I like to have a wristband here. Plus, it makes me look really cool. So, a couple points of performance on the clean. Set up the exact same way you did for your swing. Now you're gonna hike into your hips, okay? And then as I come up, I wanna think about keeping this elbow pinned to my side, because the further that kettlebell gets away from me, the more it's gonna crash. So the further it gets away, the more it's gonna crash on me. We don't want that. So we want to almost T-Rex arm it, keep it nice and close, and then you're gonna let the kettlebell rotate around your wrist to your hand. So a good one that I like to do to practice this is one, the single arm swing, getting up nice and high. Now, keep it closer, almost like the gunslinger. See, I'm pulling it back to me. So gunsling it. I can even gunsling it and rotate it to where I want to get it to. So gunsling, rotate. Gunsling. Gunsling, rotate. And then just put it all together. Like so. So the clean, it's just the swing, keeping it close, catching it. Further things get away from you, harder there to control. Now, let's talk about the rack position, okay? I don't want the forearm to be like this. It's gonna have more skin to skin contact. I wanna be as vertical as I can with my forearm so that the least amount of bell is touching, okay? And then I just go straight between the legs, right back up. Almost like I don't even need to grip it because it's resting in the heel of my palm. Love that one. It's great for the biceps. Most people are afraid of that one because they don't want it to crash on you. Really practice that gunsling wrap around and just get more confident with that guy this time. All right. The snatch. So the snatch looks to something like this. Some people think it's the hardest, but because it's got the longest way to go. So we're gonna hike it back, straight up to the top, lower it down, back to the floor. Okay, that's how we want to start initially. Okay, a couple points of performance in the snatch. Very much like the clean. Okay, I need to generate a lot of power, and I want to keep it close to my body. The further away, again, I let it go, we let that thing fall over and smack the wrist. No smacking of the wrists today, okay? So a couple ways, just like the clean, you can do the gunslinger. You can do similar for the snatch. It just ends up being what's like called a high pull, okay? So we have our single arm swing and we just pull it a little bit higher until eventually we get to a place up here where we just punch our wrist through. See, it's not slamming down on me. I'm gently catching all the way back up. Recommending when you start, don't drop it from the top like I just did. You'll do what's called a half snatch. Snatch it up there, bring it down, do it again. Once you get more confident in it, you can come all the way from the top. It's just a long way to fall and control. And control. And that's snatch. I only did a couple, but again, it's fast, it's explosive, gets the heart rate up, help develop a lot of good endurance and power, but it takes a while to kind of get that flop over first. So practice those high pulls and then that punch as best as you can to avoid banging on the old wrist. Okay, kettlebell goblet squat. So a couple ways you can do this, just depends on how you want to grab the kettlebell and how comfortable you feel with this. But the goal of this is to get this guy, grab it up around the horns, keep the elbows in tucked, because as we come down on our squat, I don't want the knees to hit our elbows. So at the top, squeeze the tuchus and quads nice and tight. Keep in tension, brace the core. Now I want you to pretend like you have a glass of water on here that you want to balance and not spill. So as we go down, we just release the squeeze on our butt and our quads, and we drive our knees forward, bringing it all the way down so that our knees get inside our elbows, and then squeeze, get back tall. So drive the knees forward, squeeze, get tall. You can also hold it this way if that feels a little bit more comfortable. That's fine, it's just kind of personal preference. If you want to go a little more side loaded and work on your front rack, you can get it like you do the clean and same exact thing. Now you just have to shift your body weight a little bit more. So everything stays the same, coming down, back up. And that's how you squat kettlebell. Okay, and then the fifth and final kettlebell move that you'll want to learn is the press. So the press It's going to be from the rack position all the way up overhead. If you're still a little uncomfortable with that rack position or you're still working on it, you can do something like the palm press. So you want to grab the round part of the kettlebell, right? So you're holding your hand. This is a good way to work on pressing mechanics. Squeeze everything tight. Elbow stays close to the body, and I press whoop, all the way, shrug all the way up as high as you can, and then pull the elbow, whoa, back down into the ribs. Okay? Try and be as controlled and deliberate as you can on the way down. That's the palm press. So if you're still trying to get a little comfort on the wrist, that's a good one to start with. It also forces you to have a little bit more stable shoulder mechanics. Now the next, or the actual press, you want to clean it up into your rack position. Again, thumb should be right by your clavicle. Okay, and I want to squeeze tight, press up. Now a lot of people, when they do their press, they want to immediately come out to the side. Okay, this puts our shoulder in kind of a more wonky position to press from. We want to be in a nice, stable, strong position. Remember, when we keep things closer to our body, it's harder to control. Easier to control, excuse me. When it gets farther away, it puts my shoulder in a harder position, and it makes it much harder to press. So when I press this guy, I want to squeeze everything tight so I got a nice base of support to push from all the way up. And on the way down, don't let gravity do it. You're going to actively pull that thing to you. So you don't want to let it come crashing down on you. On this, it's really important to get as you press heavier and heavier kettlebells, you really have to have a solid base of foundation to push from, and make sure you're extending all the way up and over through the head, getting that full range of flexion in the shoulder. All right, so those are your 5 kettlebell movements that you'll want to practice and master. There's plenty of more kettlebell movements, but I think those 5 are just a good starting point. As you can see, just from doing those 5 for a couple minutes a piece and talking to you, I'm getting a little sweaty. And that's the beautiful thing about the kettlebell, is it doesn't need a ton of time, and you can do everything. You can do conditioning, you can do endurance, you can do strength, you can do mobility. But in order to start working on those pieces, you have to have each of these different exercises in your repertoire, and then we can start piecing them together to create a workout. If you want some help with any of these moves, or if you're getting stuck, or whatever comes up for you with any of these exercises, let me know. Or if you're, hey, I've got these mastered, how do I put these together into workout? Let me know, and I'll be happy to show you a blueprint of how to keep progressing these, as well as incorporate them into your training.